From the largest copper mine in the world to massive diamond mines and controversial coal mines, it's time to travel the world as I count down the 15 biggest quarries and mines. Starting with number 15, the Rossing uranium mine in Namibia. The Rossing uranium mine, which is in the Namib Desert of Namibia, is one of the oldest and largest open-pit uranium mines in the world. It's near to the town of Ardanis, and it's been a significant part of the global uranium industry since it began operations in 1976. The mine was established by the Rio Tinto Group, which is a major international mining company, and it was the first uranium mine to be developed in Namibia, paving the way for the country becoming one of the world's top producers. The Rossing deposit was actually first discovered in 1928, but it wasn't until the 1970s, during a period of increased global demand for nuclear energy, that serious development began. The ore body at Rossing is a low-grade deposit, meaning that it contains a relatively low concentration of uranium compared to other deposits worldwide. Well, despite this, the vast size of the deposit, combined with advanced mining techniques, has made Rossing one of the most productive uranium mines of all. Now, Rossing is primarily an open-pit mine, which means the uranium ore is extracted from a massive open excavation on the Earth's surface. The mining process involves drilling and blasting the rock, which is then transported to a processing plant, where the uranium is extracted through a series of chemical processes. Over its decades of operation, Rossing has produced over 135,000 tons of uranium oxide, supplying around 3% of the world's annual uranium demand at its peak. The mine's been a vital source of revenue for Namibia, with the workforce including a mix of local Namibians and expatriates, with a strong emphasis on skills development and training. In 2019, the majority ownership of the site was transferred from Rio Tinto to the China National Uranium Corporation, showing the growing influence of Chinese companies in the global uranium market. And under this new ownership, the mine continues to operate, albeit at a reduced capacity. Number 14, Carrara Marble Quarry in Italy. The Carrara Marble Quarry, located in the Apuan Alps in Tuscany, Italy, is one of the most famous and important marble quarries in the world. It's known for producing the finest quality marble. The Carrara quarries have been a source of its highly prized commodity for over 2,000 years, dating back to the Roman Empire. Carrara marble is known for its pure white or blue-grayish color and fine grain, and it's been used in some of the most iconic works of art and architecture in history. The ancient Romans were among the first to recognize the quality of this marble, using it for sculptures, buildings, and monuments. The Pantheon and Trajan's Column in Rome, for example, were made with marble from this site. And during the Renaissance, Carrara marble gained even greater fame, as it became the material of choice for some of the world's greatest artists. Michelangelo sourced his marble from Carrara, and his masterpiece, the Statue of David, was carved from a single block of marble from this quarry, as were many of his other works. The quarrying techniques used in Carrara have changed over the centuries. In ancient times, workers used chisels and hammers to extract the marble, which was a very labor-intensive process. But today, modern machinery, including diamond wire saws and heavy equipment, allows for way more efficient and safer extraction. The town of Carrara, near the quarry, has a long history of artisans and craftsmen who have passed down their skills through the generations. The extraction process has, though, altered the landscape of the Alps there, and there are ongoing debates about the environmental impact of continual quarrying on the mountains. In modern times, however, Carrara marble continues to be a symbol of luxury and elegance. It's used in high-end architecture and design projects worldwide, meaning that with plenty more still to be extracted, marble will continue to be sourced from the site for many years. Number 13, Oyu Tolgoi, Mongolia. Oyu Tolgoi, which is in the South Gobi Desert in Mongolia, is one of the largest and most important copper and gold mining projects in the world. The mine, which is often referred to as Mongolia's economic lifeline, plays a vital role in the country's economy, contributing a substantial portion of its GDP and government revenue. The discovery of this deposit in the early 2000s was a game-changer for Mongolia. The mine is around 50 miles to the north of the Mongolian-Chinese border, and it's known for its vast reserves of copper, gold, and silver. Now, the name Oyu Tolgoi translates to mean turquoise hill in Mongolian, and it definitely has an unusual color because of the presence of turquoise-colored copper minerals in the area. The quarry is a joint venture between the Mongolian government and the Canadian mining company Turquoise Hill Resources, which is majority owned by the multinational mining giant Rio Tinto. The Mongolian government owns about 34% of the project, while the Turquoise Hill Resources holds the remaining 66%. It's made up of an open pit and underground component, and the open pit mine known as the Southern Oyu deposit began production in 2013 and has since become one of the largest copper and gold producers in the world, while the underground mine too, which targets the deeper, higher-grade ore bodies, is considered one of the most significant mining developments in recent history. For a country like Mongolia, which is landlocked and has a relatively small population, the economic impact of such a large-scale mining project is a game-changer. But it's not all been positive, though, as it's led to various negotiations and disputes between the Mongolian government and Rio Tinto over issues such as revenue sharing, taxation, and project management. As with all large mines and quarries, though, there have been concerns about the environmental impact of the mine, particularly in such an arid and ecologically sensitive area as the Gobi Desert. Number 12. Cerro Verde, Peru. Cerro Verde is one of the most important copper mines in the world and can be found in the mountainous region of southern Peru. It was originally discovered in the early 20th century, but it wasn't until the latter part of that century that the large-scale commercial mining began. This mine primarily produces copper, but it also yields significant amounts of molybdenum, which is a metal that's used to strengthen steel. Over the years, Cerro Verde has undergone several expansions, transforming it from a modest operation into one of the largest copper mines on the planet. One of the most significant expansions happened in the early 2000s. Now, this included the construction of new processing facilities and the development of an additional open pit operation, which increased the mine's production capacity. And in 2015, another major expansion project was completed. The mine operates primarily as an open pit quarry, where large quantities of ore are extracted and processed. The copper ore here is of relatively low grade, but the sheer volume of the deposit, combined with advanced mining techniques, allows for the extraction to be economically viable. The ore is processed on site using large-scale crushing, grinding, and flotation facilities which produce copper concentrate for export to smelters around the world. The molybdenum process as a byproduct is also sold on the global market, adding to the mine's profitability. In a region that's already stressed by limited water resources, its water usage has been a point of contention with local communities. Cerro Verde has invested in water management systems, including a wastewater treatment plant that supplies water for its operations, but concerns remain about the long-term sustainability of water use in this area. It is, though, mainly seen as a benefit to the local people and the wider region as a whole, and with far more material to remove, there's no signs of things slowing down. Number 11. The Sishen Mine in South Africa. The Sishen Mine, which is in the northern Cape Province of South Africa, is one of the largest and most significant iron ore mines in the world. The mine is near the town of Kathu, which is known as the iron ore capital of South Africa, and it's part of the larger Kalahari Basin, which is a region that's renowned for its vast mineral resources. Discovered in the 1950s, Sishen began operations in 1953, initially as a relatively small-scale operation, but over the years it's grown into one of the largest open-pit mines in the world, covering an area of approximately 8.6 miles or 14 kilometers in length, and up to 1.2 miles or 2 kilometers in width. Sishen is primarily an open-pit mine, which means that the iron ore is extracted from the surface rather than from underground tunnels. The mine's operations are highly mechanized with the use of massive trucks, shovels, and drills to extract and transport the ore. And this means the mine's able to produce over 30 million tons of iron ore each year. The material extracted here is of exceptionally high quality with a high iron content of around 64%. This makes it sought after on the global market, particularly by steel manufacturers. The ore processed on site is producing both lumps and fine products, which are then transported by rail to the port of Saldanha Bay, about 530 miles away. With the majority being shipped to the customers in Asia, particularly in China, it's the largest consumer of iron ore on Earth. Number 10. Mount Whaleback, Australia. Mount Whaleback, it's another one of the largest iron ore mines in the world, located in the Pilbara region of Western Australia. Operated by BHP, it's near the town of Newman, which is a remote outpost in the heart of the Pilbara, and it's played a crucial role in the development and prosperity of that region. The discovery of iron ore here at Mount Whaleback in 1957 marked the beginning of a new era in Australia's mining history. The deposit is of exceptional quality, with a high iron content and low impurities. The deposit itself is a massive ore body stretching over 3 miles or 5 kilometers in length, and this means it's the largest single-pit iron ore mine in the world. Mining operations on the site officially started in 1968, and it quickly became one of the most productive in the world. The pit here is now one of the largest too, measuring around 3.5 miles or 5.5 kilometers in length, 0.9 miles or about 1.5 kilometers in width, and over 1,600 feet or 500 meters in depth. The sheer scale of the operation is unbelievable, with massive trucks and shovels working around the clock to extract and transport this ore. From there, the iron ore is shipped to customers around the world, particularly in Asia, where it's used in steelmaking. The high-quality ore here has been critical resources for the global steel industry, contributing to the construction and manufacturing sectors worldwide. The mine is a source of revenue both for the state and federal governments through taxes and royalties, and it's also provided tens of thousands of jobs, both directly in the mine and indirectly through the associated industries such as transportation, equipment manufacturing, and services. The town of Newman, originally established to support the mining operations, has grown and developed alongside the mine and has hugely benefited from the economic opportunities provided by Mount Whaleback. Number 9. Chuquicamata Mine in Chile. The Chuquicamata, usually simply referred to as Chuqui, is a historically important copper mine that's in the Atacama Desert of northern Chile. It's not only one of the largest open-pit copper mines on the planet, but also one of the deepest, with a history that's influenced both the local region and the global copper market. The origins of Chuquicamata can be traced back to ancient times when indigenous peoples mined these rich copper deposits in the area. However, large-scale industrial mining began in the early 20th century, initially under the control of American companies, particularly the Guggenheim family and the Anaconda Copper Company. In 1915, Chuqui started a large-scale production, quickly becoming a major source of copper, which was essential for industrialization and later for the war efforts during both World Wars. The pit here measures approximately 2.7 miles or about 4.3 kilometers in length, 1.9 miles or 3 kilometers in width, and reaches a depth of over 2,800 feet or 850 meters. For much of the 20th century, this mine was the largest one in the world, producing millions of tons of copper each year, and the sheer scale here required the development of an entire infrastructure, including railways, processing plants, and the nearby mining town of Chuquicamata. The copper extracted here is processed on-site using large-scale crushing, grinding, and flotation facilities, and the resulting copper concentrate is then smelted and refined to produce high-purity copper cathodes, which are then exported to markets around the world. In recent years, it's undergone changes here as part of a wider modernization effort by Codelco, the open-pit mine, which has reached the limits of its economic viability due to the depth and operational challenges, has transitioned to an underground operation. The underground expansion, known as the Chuquicamata Underground Mine, represents one of the largest mining projects in Chile's history. It aims to extend the life of this mine by several decades, tapping into the deeper, higher-grade ore bodies beneath the old pit. Number 8. Hull Rust Mahoning Mine, United States. The Hull Rust Mahoning Mine in Hibbing, Minnesota is often referred to as the Grand Canyon of the North, and it's played a critical role in the development of iron and steel industries in the U.S. Its history dates back to the late 19th century, which was a time when the United States was rapidly industrializing. In 1895, prospectors discovered large deposits of high-grade iron ore in the area, and by 1896, mining operations had begun. The ore extracted from the Hull Rust Mahoning was particularly valuable due to its high iron content and low impurities, making it ideal for steel production. And the mine supplied much of the iron ore used by U.S. Steel, which was the dominant force in the American steel industry throughout the 20th century. Today, the open-pit mine is around 8 miles or 13 kilometers in length, 3 miles or 4.8 kilometers in width, and reaches depths of more than 600 feet or about 183 meters. It is one of the largest man-made excavations in the world, and at its peak, it was producing as much as a quarter of all the iron ore mined in the United States. Over the course of its operation, the mine has produced more than 1.4 billion tons of iron ore. It is still an active mining operation, though on a reduced scale compared to its peak years. The mine is also a popular tourist attraction, drawing visitors who come to see the enormous size and learn about its history. The view from the mine's observation deck offers an incredible perspective of this vast pit, showing the impact of human industry on the natural landscape. Moving on to number 7, the Grasberg Mine in Indonesia. The Grasberg Mine, which is in the highlands of Indonesia, is a huge copper and gold mine. It was discovered in 1936 by Dutch geologist Jean-Jacques Dozy. The Grasberg deposit wasn't developed until much later thanks to its remote location. It wasn't until the 1970s when the Freeport McMoran secured mining rights from the Indonesian government that the large-scale operations began. Grasberg is a one-of-a-kind deposit containing some of the world's largest reserves of copper and gold. The mine has several distinct operations, including an open-pit mine, an underground block cave mine, and various processing facilities. The open-pit mine, once the largest of its kind, reaches a depth of nearly 2,000 feet or about 600 meters. The underground mining operations, which have become the focus as the open pit phases out, involve sophisticated methods to extract ore from deep beneath the surface, employing cutting-edge technology to maintain productivity. At its peak, the mine produced nearly 3 million ounces of gold and more than 800,000 tons of copper each year. This makes it one of the most important sources of these metals in the world. This has been, though, one of the most controversial quarries of recent times because of the environmental damage it's caused. The tailings, or waste material from the mining process, have been a major problem, with billions of tons being discharged into the nearby river systems, leading to environmental degradation and impacting local ecosystems. The scale of this impact has drawn some criticism from environmental groups, but has had the most impact on the local indigenous communities. These people have seen their traditional lands and livelihoods disrupted by the mine's operations, and while the Freeport has implemented various community development programs and compensation schemes, tensions have remained high. Number 6. Kalgoorlie Super Pit in Australia. The Kalgoorlie Super Pit in the Goldfields regions of Western Australia is one of the largest open-pit gold mines in the world. It's known officially as the Fimiston Open Pit. This super pit is on the outskirts of the town of Kalgoorlie-Boulder, which is a place that's inextricably linked with the gold rush era and the wider story of gold mining in Australia. The super pit dates back to the late 19th century when prospectors first discovered gold in the Kalgoorlie area. In 1893, 3 Irishmen, Paddy Hannon, Tom Flanagan, and Dan Shea, found gold near Mount Charlotte, triggering the gold rush that attracted thousands. This led to the establishment of the Golden Mile, which was a stretch of rich gold-bear ore that would become one of the most famous mining districts in the world. For many years, the Golden Mile was home to various small underground mines operated by different companies. However, in the 1980s, Australian entrepreneur Alan Bond consolidated these individual leases into a single operation, leading to the creation of the Super Pit. While Bond's financial difficulties eventually led to the sale of the project, the concept of the Super Pit remained, and it's been operated ever since by the Kalgoorlie Consolidated Gold Mines, a joint venture between Northern Star Resources and Saracen Mineral Holdings. The Super Pit is now around 2.5 miles or 3.5 kilometers long, 0.9 miles or 1.5 kilometers wide, and almost 2,000 feet deep. This mine operates 24 hours a day, 365 days a year with a fleet of trucks, shovels, and drilling rigs that work to extract the ore. The gold ore from the Super Pit is processed on-site at the Fimiston and Gidgee processing plants, a process that involves crushing the ore and using a combination of gravity and a chemical process such as cyanidation to extract the gold. The extracted gold is then refined into bars, which are then further refined off-site to produce high-quality gold bullion. The Super Pit's been a major contributor to Australia's gold production, and it's produced around 700,000 ounces of gold each year at its peak. Number 5. The Venetia Diamond Mine in South Africa. The Venetian Diamond Mine, located in the Limpopo province of South Africa, is a major contributor to the global diamond supply, and it plays a critical role in the South African economy. It's owned by De Beers, one of the world's leading diamond companies. Venetia is the largest diamond mine in South Africa. Discovered in 1980, the mine officially began production in 1992, and since then, it's consistently produced high-quality diamonds, including many of gem quality. The mine is approximately 50 miles from the town of Musina and lies within the Limpopo-Mobile Belt, a region known for its rich geological formations. The mine operates as an open-pit mine, with its mining operations initially focused on extracting diamonds from the surface. The open pit ops have created a vast excavation site that's easily visible from the air, with the mine's pits reaching depths of over 1,300 feet or 400 meters. The surface mining operations were initially projected to last until about 2020, but advancements in mining technology and the mine's vast resources have extended the life of the pit. As surface-level resources begin to deplete, however, De Beers has begun an ambitious underground expansion to ensure the mine's continued productivity well into the 2040s. The underground expansion is expected to cost over $2 billion, and it's designed to tap into the deeper kimberlite pipes that are inaccessible from the surface. This project involves the construction of extensive underground tunnels and infrastructure to reach far below the surface, and is expected to produce diamonds of an even higher quality. De Beers has also invested heavily in social and environmental programs in the region and has implemented extensive environmental management practices to minimize the mine's impact. These initiatives include water conservation programs, wildlife protection efforts, and the rehabilitation of mined land. Phoenicia operates in a region that is rich in biodiversity, and De Beers' conservation efforts are aimed at ensuring that mining activities don't adversely affect the natural environment. Number 4. The Escondida Mine in Chile. Escondida Mine, which is in the Atacama Desert of northern Chile, is the largest copper mine in the world. It's operated by BHP, which holds a majority stake and is co-owned by Rio Tinto and a consortium of Japanese companies. Since it began operations in 1990, the mine has become a powerhouse, contributing significantly to Chile's economy and to the global market for copper. The discovery of the Escondida deposit in 1981 was a major one. It's located in the hyper-arid Atacama Desert, one of the driest places on Earth. The Escondida ore body was found to be extraordinarily rich in copper, with significant quantities of gold and silver as byproducts. Its open-pit mining operations began in 1990, and the mine quickly ramped up to become the world's largest copper producer. The mine consists of two main pits, Escondida and Escondida Norte, as well as several smaller satellite operations. The processing ore here is conducted on a massive scale. The ore is crushed, ground, and subjected to a flotation process that separates the copper concentrate from the waste rock. The concentrate is then transported to nearby smelters or exported to refineries around the world. The mines also developed a process for leaching lower-grade ores, which allows the extraction of copper from material that would otherwise be considered waste. The Escondida's production levels are second to none, often exceeding 1 million tons of copper each year, which represents a significant share of the global market. This high level of production has made Escondida a key player in the global economy. Escondida is why Chile is the world's largest copper producer, and it contributes significantly to the country's GDP. Water scarcity in the Atacama Desert is, though, a major problem, as copper production is water-intensive. To deal with this, BHP has invested in a desalination plant to provide sustainable water supply for the mine, reducing its reliance on local freshwater resources. So, as well as researching and improving technology for their own use, it's now being deployed to improve water supplies for residents too. Number 3. Mirny Mine in Russia. The Mirny Mine in the Sakha Republic in eastern Siberia is one of the world's most famous diamond mines and one of the largest man-made excavations on Earth. The discovery of the Mirny kimberlite pipe in 1955 by geologists happened during a geological expedition in the harsh and remote Siberian wilderness. The finding was so significant that the geologist was awarded a prestigious Lenin Prize. The site, named Mirny after the nearby town, was soon developed into one of the Soviet Union's most important mining operations. The Mirny mine is an open-pit diamond mine, and at its peak, it was the second largest excavated hole in the world. The pit measures approximately 3,900 feet or 1,200 meters in diameter and reaches a depth of over 1,700 feet or 520 meters. Mining here began in 1957, and the mine became a huge source of diamonds, producing millions of carats each year. The diamonds extracted here were of high quality and contributed substantially to the Soviet Union's economy. But the extreme conditions in Siberia, with temperatures often dropping below -40 degrees Fahrenheit or -40 degrees Celsius, made mining at Mirny a major challenge. The permafrost, which extends deep into the ground, had to be managed carefully to prevent it from melting and causing the walls of the mine to collapse. By the early 2000s, the open-pit operations here were becoming less economically viable due to the increasing depth and cost of extraction. So in response, Alrosa, the state-owned diamond mining company that operates Mirny, began transitioning to underground mining. The switch to this underground mining marked a new phase in their history, ensuring continuation of diamond production at the site. The underground mine is among the deepest in the world, reaching depths of over 4,000 feet or 1,200 meters, ensuring Mirny's place as a symbol of Russia's diamond industry, with its iconic open pits serving as a reminder of the country's industrial achievements during the Soviet era. Number 2. The Garzweiler Mine in Germany. Garzweiler Mine in the North Rhine-Westphalia region of Germany is one of the largest and most controversial brown coal mines in Europe. It's operated by the German energy company RWE. Garzweiler has become a focal point in discussions about energy policy, environmental impact, and the transition to renewable energy. It's an open-pit lignite mine, which means that the coal is extracted from a large surface quarry. The lignite found here in Garzweiler is of relatively low energy content compared to harder coals like anthracite, but there's so much of it, and it's been a key energy source for Germany, particularly in the post-World War II era, when the country needed to rebuild its energy infrastructure, that the mine's been named after the nearby village of Garzweiler. Much like any other village in the area, has been partially or fully destroyed to make way for mining operations. The Garzweiler mine is divided into two sections, Garzweiler 1 and Garzweiler 2. 1 has been in operation since the 1980s, while 2 is developed since the 2000s after much debate and resistance. The lignite extracted here is mainly used to fuel nearby power plants, which provide electricity to millions of homes and industries in Germany. But this isn't the only environmental impact of the mine, as it's also had a destructive effect on the local area too. Entire villages have been relocated to accommodate this expanding mine, leading to the displacement of thousands of people. Historic buildings, churches, and farmlands have been lost, and the landscape has been permanently altered, leaving behind massive craters where once fertile land existed. The relocation process has been the source of social tension, with many residents and activists opposing the destruction of their homes and cultural heritage. The future of the Garzweiler mine is increasingly uncertain as Germany transitions away from coal and towards renewable energy. In recent years, the German government has committed to phasing out coal by 2038 as part of its energy transition strategy. This has led to discussions about the gradual closure of the Garzweiler, so RWE has already begun planning for eventual reclamation of the mine, which will involve filling in the pits and restoring the land for other uses, such as agriculture, forestry, or recreation. Number 1. The Bingham Canyon Mine in the United States. Bingham Canyon Mine, also known as the Kennecott Copper Mine, is by far the largest and most famous open-pit mine in the world. It's near Salt Lake City, Utah in the United States, and it's been an important part of the American mining industry for over a century. Its origins can be traced back to the mid-19th century when, in the 1860s, rich mineral deposits were discovered. At first, the site was mined for precious metals like gold and silver, but it wasn't until 1906 when the Utah Copper Company began large-scale copper extraction that Bingham Canyon became a key part of. The mine's development was driven by the increased demand for copper, particularly for use in electrical wiring and other industrial applications. The Bingham Canyon Mine is an open-pit mine, and currently the pit is more than 2.5 miles or 4 kilometers wide and over 3/4 of a mile or 1.2 kilometers deep, making it the largest man-made excavation on Earth. The ore here is extracted is rich in copper, but it's also containing other valuable metals including gold, silver, and molybdenum. The copper ore is processed on-site at the Kennecott, Utah Copper Smelter, where it undergoes a series of crushing, grinding, and flotation processes that separate the copper from the waste rock. It's produced more than 19 million tons of copper since operations began, making it one of the most productive mines in history. The mine has also been a significant source of employment and economic activity in the region, providing jobs for thousands of workers and generating substantial revenue. The copper produced here has been critical for the development of modern infrastructure, particularly in the U.S., and without it, the country would have struggled to develop as fast as it has done. There's been a cost to this, though, as it's resulted in the accumulation of massive waste rock piles and tailing ponds, which must be carefully managed to prevent any contamination. In recent years, Bingham Canyon Mine has also become a popular tourist attraction, bringing in visitors who are interested in seeing one of the world's largest and most impressive quarries. There's no sign of it being emptied or operation stopping, though, as with increased demand for copper around the world, particularly with the push toward renewable energy and electrification, Bingham Canyon Mine remains a vital asset that the country will continue to rely on for many decades. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you next time. Thank you to our channel members.